Happy hump day, members of the Altcoin Buzz Army. Hope you're having a great midweek. And if you were lucky enough to tune into yesterday's video in which we covered Frontier, ticker Front, F-R-O-N-T, maybe despite our lack of financial advice, you also possibly chose to make a little investment. It is up over 200% on the day, on the back of that news we covered yesterday. We'll link to that video in the description below. But guys, it pays to stay abreast with the news that we cover. It also pays to make sure you're participating in our trade signals group on Telegram. If you take a look at the top searches on CoinGecko, Front is at number 1 ahead of Vesper Finance, which we're actually going to be covering later on in this video as well. Binance Coin also soaring. Interestingly enough, in yesterday's video, we also covered Travala.com, which is one of the top trending cryptos here because of the good news in terms of their acceptance of a broad range of cryptocurrencies. So we have all kinds of terrific altcoin news. In addition to this great Bitcoin news, blasting through 50,000, now blasting above 51,000, about 51,005 or 600 at the time of this recording. We'll be covering some of these macro developments, including the big news out of the SEC with New York DIG, with Morgan Stanley that's backing this new Bitcoin ETF. We also have all kinds of altcoin news, including Chainlink news, PlasmaPay, Polygon, formerly Matic Network, of course, Crypto.com, Vesper, as I mentioned, Ramp, Defi, Paid Network, and others, guys. So of course, if you like this kind of content, Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency, and altcoins, be sure to like and subscribe to Altcoin Buzz. Okay, let's kick things off with the macro here. We have a lot of positive big picture stories that just so happen to sync up with this new all-time high for Bitcoin of $51,000 and change right now. Beginning here on Business Insider, I guess Markets Insider. The branding is always weird. It's markets.businessinsider.com, but whatever. Markets Insider. NYDIG, New York DIG, files for US-based Bitcoin ETF with Morgan Stanley on board. That is about as good a backer as you can hope to achieve. Morgan Stanley is not exactly a small fish. The crypto-focused financial services company has filed S1 paperwork with the SEC. That's what we saw just a moment ago, reigniting the debate over a Bitcoin ETF. And they're sourcing this from Cointelegraph. You can read more about it there. Here is that official paperwork that they were alluding to. Form S1, registration statement under the Securities Act of 1933, which probably doesn't apply. Any securities definition from nearly 100 years ago is a little bit outdated in my opinion. Nevertheless, here it is, New York DIG Bitcoin ETF. I think it's a good development, potentially. We asked about it recently in this poll. If accepted by the SEC and ultimately approved, will the Morgan Stanley / New York DIG Bitcoin ETF be a good thing or a bad thing for cryptocurrency? Most of you seem to agree that it's a good thing. And if you haven't sounded off yet in this poll, make sure you do. We value your opinion with nearly 1,000 votes so far. Let's see kind of if this representation holds. Again, roughly 70% of you approving for the time being. I realize, of course, that the more mainstream Bitcoin and cryptos and altcoins go, the more room there is for manipulation, and we don't necessarily trust Morgan Stanley, but I like the fact that this is kind of being co-proposed with New York DIG because I can get behind what they're doing. They have a lot of bullish projections, which we've covered in the past, and I think, insofar as an ETF is going to work in the United States, this is the one that I think has the best chance so far. But meanwhile, Canada has already approved 2 Bitcoin ETFs. Evolve has just won the second Canadian BTC ETF as an Ontario regulator approves applications. I've never heard of Evolve Funds personally, nothing against them, but Evolve Funds Group Incorporated have received approval to list its Bitcoin ETF. The new asset will trade under the ticker symbols EBIT and EBIT.U and provide direct exposure to Bitcoin. Again, this is the second Bitcoin ETF that has been approved now in Canada. So, again, I kind of cautiously align with the argument that this is a good thing for the space overall. We got to keep our eyes out. We got to be alert for manipulation and whatnot, but this is how the sector, this is how the industry goes mainstream, and this is what's going to ultimately endear those of us in the space to the really big fish out there, i.e. the pension funds. And this is how, we validate and add credibility to what it is that we're doing here with an ETF, at least in my opinion. And I understand there's room for corruption and manipulation, but as long as we're kind of guarding and protecting against that, I think we'll be okay. More positive news here out of MicroStrategy. You've likely seen this announcement from yesterday. Michael Saylor, he's announcing that MicroStrategy is announcing a proposed private offering of $600 million worth of convertible senior notes. In other words, MicroStrategy is buying another $600 million worth of Bitcoin. They have no intention to stop. This is just like the ultimate, bullish pinnacle here. This is really impressive. MicroStrategy announces proposed private offering of $600 million of convertible senior notes. There's making a bet, and then there's doubling down, and there's tripling down, and this is arguably now quadrupling down. I've lost count of how many times MicroStrategy has chosen to enter the space, despite the fact that we're on a pretty aggressive upward trajectory right now with the Bitcoin price. I think Michael Saylor realizes that, look, this is potentially the last time we see $50,000, even though it's an all-time high right now. So why would I stop my purchases? Why would I stop buying? There's going to be a time when we all look back, we're at maybe 75K in the future, 100K, 150K, 200K plus. Yeah, $50,000, despite, the euphoria right now, in the relatively near term, 50K is going to look pretty cheap. And Michael Saylor realizes that. Raoul Pal here weighing in on the positive macro scenario right now. Presume you all saw this. Not a big surprise, but it is the world's largest asset manager, and they have already bought some Bitcoin. Referring to this tweet here by CNBC, and here's the accompanying article. BlackRock's Rick Reader on Bitcoin. We've started to dabble in it. That's not something that is said loosely. If this is the announcement that's made, then it's because they're not just getting into it like at the time that this press release comes out. They've done their due diligence. Again, BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager. Somewhere, estimates vary, but somewhere to the tune of $8, $9, $10 trillion in assets under management. So for them to come out and make this kind of an announcement, believe me, they've been in the space comfortably for a long time. Now they're just getting ready to capitalize on it. Very encouraging. And thus, Tyler Winklevoss with this opinion, Bitcoin $50,000 is about to become the new normal. I had a friendly exchange with somebody in the comments yesterday who was saying that, we're likely going to see a retracement now. Look, possibly. We can retrace at any moment in this space. This gentleman suggested that, we'll go back to 44, 40K or so and consolidate in that area. My response was that, look, we've just done that. We've just consolidated in the low 40Ks. I think now we're going to be consolidating in the low 50Ks. And that's a little bit of actually the bearish scenario, because now as we continue to explore new price territory, I think there is momentum with all of this news now to push 55K, 58K, 60K and beyond. But if we don't do that, I could see consolidation in the low 50Ks for a little while. And thus, personally, I agree with Tyler Winklevoss here. I think 50K is kind of the new normal for the time being, and it would be great for us to set up a nice support level at 50K, because eventually there will be a retracement, but I would like to think that 50K is the new normal. Cointelegraph.com. Bitcoin buys more gold than ever. The ratio is in our favor, and it is increasingly in our favor, with 1 ounce of gold now costing under 0.035 Bitcoin, a very bullish ratio and metric for the space. Peter Schiff here, however, just cannot quit. He cannot change his opinion. He's so static and solidified into his, ossified point of view here. Now that Bitcoin has hit $50,000, I must admit that a move to $100,000 can't be ruled out. However, a move down to zero can't be ruled out either. Yes, it can, but more on that in just a second. Continuing. While a temporary move to 100K is possible, a permanent move down to zero is inevitable. If you don't want to gamble, buy gold. I think that's literally the opposite of reality. There's this argument among people that don't understand Bitcoin very well. And I think Peter Schiff understands Bitcoin well enough. Like, he's above average in terms of his understanding, but he's entrenched now in his business in precious metals and Euro-Pacific capital, and I think he doesn't have the latitude to make a shift. It'd be nice to see him adapt, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But there's this idea among those that don't understand Bitcoin that like it's like some kind of a company that's going to go either up or down depending on the quarterly news and what's happening in the space and whether things are bullish or bearish. But mathematically speaking, Bitcoin can't go to zero. We know already that somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 or 4 or 5 million Bitcoin have already been lost. They're sitting on hard drives right now that are deteriorating, that are resting somewhere in some landfill. You'll never get a $0 Bitcoin. It's impossible. Even if every current active Bitcoin address decided simultaneously to sell off 100% of their holdings, even if everybody actively decided to sell all their Bitcoin, there's still Bitcoin that's just lost forever. Private keys that are lost, hard drives that are lost. Thus, it'll never go to zero. And even if you had 100% of active holders that decided to sell 100% of their Bitcoin, you better believe that there'd be a lot of people that would be scooping up Bitcoin on the cheap. Like if I saw an opportunity, let's just say hypothetically Bitcoin retraced to $10,000 one day. Do you understand like the level of divestment, the properties I would sell, the RRSPs, the different financial instruments I would divest just to be able to get my hands on that again? Like there would be a flood of attention and enthusiasm just to scoop that up. But Peter Schiff doesn't understand that. He reminds me of that guy. What was that billionaire's name? Dan Pena or something like that, that obnoxious, arrogant old windbag that, again, it's just marketing. I think to a certain extent, Peter Schiff is stuck in this character and he can't deviate from it. But, I don't know. Maybe the time has come to stop caring about Peter Schiff and covering any of his opinions. They are no longer relevant. MasterCard and Island Pay launch world's first central bank digital currency linked card. This is pretty big news. Again, more on the CBDC side of things. So not exactly cryptocurrencies, but as I've argued now for some months, it certainly overlaps with the cryptocurrency space. Dubai-owned licensing firm accepts cryptocurrencies as payment. That is a big deal. So more and more positive news here. And Matt Huang with this update. Over $100 million in crypto collectibles, i.e. NFT sales, in the last 30 days with NBA Top Shop, check this out, at the top of the list with $63 million in sales. That is in just 30 days too. That's unbelievable. Now, if those NFTs are your jam, if that's your cup of tea, cool. I don't see the appeal personally. I would never pay. There's this one anecdotal purchase of like a LeBron James slam dunk for, I think it sold for like $70,000. Like, I don't know. Why would you want to own that? It's just basically a video clip. So I don't see the appeal personally, but the NFT use case, more broadly speaking, certainly is a pragmatic one. And this speaks to how quickly that market segment is growing. Over $100 million in crypto collectible NFTs sold in the last 30 days. Check out the rest of the stats here on Cointelegraph.com. And also we have good news when it comes to Ethereum. In fact, you now have to join a wait list for Ethereum 2.0 staking rewards on Coinbase. They are offering a pretty high APY, 7.5%, which is terrific. And I'm not a massive fan of Coinbase. Like I haven't used Coinbase, I want to say like in years. They're certainly not my favorite exchange. But the nice thing about Coinbase is that it's getting to be like, at this point probably is a household name. They're extremely popular. They do have a huge existing user base. So if people kind of want to, get their feet wet with this whole Ethereum 2.0, they want to try out staking maybe for the first time. Maybe they have a lot of ETH that they want to start, they want to get that Ethereum to start working for them, generating passive income. Coinbase is already there. It's a known quantity. So that's a very good development and a very, very nice rate. I have to say 7.5% is very solid and very respectable. Okay, let's get into some of the altcoin news. We have a series of updates today, starting with Syntropy and Polkadot here. Following our Chainlink integration, we're excited to announce our new integration with Polkadot, marking another step forward in making Syntropy the default network for building critical blockchain infrastructure. Read more about that development here. Syntropy launches Polkadot integration, this on medium.com. Chainlink is in the news. At Chainlink is the Twitter handle. Leading luxury watch data provider WatchSignals.com will run its own Chainlink node to make its price benchmarks available on-chain for developers, enabling new DeFi, decentralized finance products like tokenized watches used as collateral and derivatives based on future prices. More on that is available here. WatchSignals.com. Watch Signals to launch a Chainlink node to bring luxury watch data onto the blockchain. I've never heard about Watch Signals. It seems to be an interesting website, like organization. If you guys are more familiar about that, please educate me in the comments below. But this seems like a great initiative here. Kudos to all parties involved. PlasmaPay and Plasma Finance. PlasmaPay x Casper Lab. We are looking at our partnership with Meet Casper Labs. The partnership comes at an exciting period for both, with Plasma Finance set to launch the PlasmaPay DEX and Casper Labs close to its mainnet launch. You can read more here. I think they probably meant to write, we are looking forward to our partnership with something. The wording here is just kind of weird. But I don't know, that's what it is. You can read more about it here on medium.com. PlasmaPay announces partnership with Casper Labs. Kudos to both there. Polygon, previously known, of course, as Matic Network. We're excited to announce that Graph Protocol is launching on Polygon. Developers can now build and publish native subgraphs using the Graph's hosted service, allowing dApps to directly consume organized data from the Polygon POS chain. Also, more on medium.com here. The Graph expands to layer 2 blockchains and brings indexed open data to Polygon. This from just about a day ago at the time of this recording. And Autonio here talking about Crypto.com. They're both partnering to empower Crypto.com users with smart trading tools and enable intelligent crowdsourced liquidity. NIOX Maker and NIOX Swarm are coming to Crypto.com. That update is available here on Autonio.foundation. Autonio is bringing the Swarm to Crypto.com. And on Crypto.com, by the way, you can always avail yourselves of a Crypto.com Visa card. If you'd like to up your game in the crypto space, use our link, by the way. It's available in both the pinned comments. Actually, not the pinned comments. That's our Trade Signals group. But you can find it in both the comments as well as the description of this video. You can get $25 loaded onto your Crypto.com Visa card for free. Of course, you also get cash back in the form of CRO. CRO token is on a very nice ascent lately. I'm sure you guys have noticed. While we are on the subject of Crypto.com, I received an alert recently, actually via email. You may have gotten something similar. So the staking requirements for the Visa cards have shifted recently. And what this means is that there's going to be kind of a stable benchmark in terms of what the expectation is for whatever tier of credit card you're on. For example, I hold the Royal Indigo Blue MCO Visa card. I was locked into that with 10,000 CRO as my staking requirement. And even though that requirement has risen in recent months, because I held that and kept that 10,000 CRO stake, I'm grandfathered in at that level. So if you're already staked and you're already set up with your Visa card, this may not apply to you. But henceforth, and for new users, it seems like the staking requirements are going to be denominated in your local currency. So in my case, for example, I received a notification indicating that, hey, for the CRO Visa card for the Royal Indigo Blue, $5,000 worth of CRO are now required as your staking threshold. So in my case, it doesn't apply because, again, I already hold 10,000 CRO. They're already staked into that Visa card, which avails me of all the benefits that are associated with it. But if you're new to Crypto.com, if you're new and you're acquiring a Visa card, check on the updates there, depending on where you live, whether it's Canada or Australia, where the Visa cards also recently shipped. You may have new staking requirements that are going to be reflected in your local fiat currency. And at least until the space matures a little bit more, I think that's probably a good move, because it let's be honest, the price of CRO has been up and down, both up and downside volatility pretty substantially in the last 6 months or so. But just a consistent staking requirement, in my case, $5,000 Canadian, I think makes sense for the near term going forward, at least until the space matures a bit. So be on the lookout. You may have received a similar alert, a similar notification from Crypto.com. Again, if you're already staked, if you're already locked in, it doesn't apply to you, but just a heads up. One of the most popular projects that we mentioned earlier in the video as far as CoinGecko search trending results, Vesper Finance, because of this news here. Quote, to signal our partnership with SushiSwap, the Vesper project is providing a majority of initial LP liquidity and ongoing liquidity mining rewards to SushiSwap LPs. This is a big deal. The Vesper Sushi Swap LP campaign, you can read more about that here on medium.com. Vesper, VSP, up 148% on the day to now over $29. This is one that has kind of escaped our radar, admittedly, but now ranked number 563. Still looks to be trending actually at number 2, just behind Frontier here on CoinGecko.com. Very impressive. Kudos on the news. And hey, the price increase. You don't see that every day, especially when Bitcoin is sucking up all the oxygen in the room. So great job to VSP. Oasis Labs here is in the news. At Oasis Labs, we're using the latest in privacy tech to help keep data protected, no matter the use case. That's why we're integrating GCP Cloud's confidential VMs into the Oasis platform to ensure that data remains confidential while in use. Learn more about that here on medium.com, bringing GCP's confidential VMs to Oasis Parcel. And Ramp DeFi here is in the news. We're happy that Ramp DeFi will work with EasyFi Network to integrate our USD liquidity into EasyFi's Layer 2 money markets built on Matic network, which is now known as Polygon. More information is available here. EasyFi and Ramp join hands to maximize capital efficiencies through derivative assets lending on L2 money markets. And with the penultimate update here before we wrap up, we have Paid Network, which is again in the news. Paid, not financial advice, but Paid Network is one of our favorites. We think they have tremendous upside potential. Paid Network is thrilled to announce a new strategic DELA, that's Decentralized Law Alliance with VAIOT Limited. The creation of this alliance will unite Paid Network and VAIOT, I don't know if that's VAIOT or VAIOT, in their mission to redefine how people do business with one another. Learn more about that here on the medium.com article. Paid Network and VAIOT form a strategic DELA. Again, that's Decentralized Law Alliance. I guess that could be another term, what is that? Not quite an acronym, but another term that we have to become familiar with. We know DeFi by now, but DELA could be a new one that's going to increase in popularity. Finally, we have Unifi Protocol, at Unifi Protocol on Twitter. We're excited to announce a partnership with IoTEX.io. Commitment to decentralization and on-chain development make IoTEX a great ally. Unifi Protocol is the recipient of a grant from IoTEX for unlocking cross-chain opportunities and much more. The full story is available here. Unifi forms a partnership with IoTEX. That about wraps it up for today, everybody. Once again, look, make sure you're staying on top of all of the news that we share, because although it's never financial advice, you can choose to do with it what you will, i.e. investments. And for the time-sensitive stuff, that could certainly pay off in your favor. I'll mention again that you are very welcome in our Telegram group, both our general discussion Telegram group and our trade signals group. The links are available pinned actually in the comments section below. You can also join our Unbound Finance Telegram group. I also include that in the pinned comment. But do be sure, guys, you are following us on all the regular social media channels. Keep checking back into altcoinbuzz.io for all the latest. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, of course, to receive notifications if you enjoyed this video. Welcome to all of our new subscribers. There have been many of you in these last few weeks. We produce videos every day. We're including more and more video types and video formats, so be on the lookout for those soon. Best of luck, everybody. If you choose to invest on this hump day, have a great midweek. Stay safe, and as always, we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.